I want to do a hard shift back to domestic politics and bring in our first guest, Harrison Tuttle, as Executive Director of Black Lives Matter in Rhode Island PAC and Black Lives Matter Northeast PAC. He is a Rhode Island political candidate for General Assembly in Cranston, Rhode Island. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you today?
I'm good, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining us. I wanted to discuss with you the broader conversation of gerrymandering, but how it has impacted your campaign and your city specifically, and the political climate. We are in a redistricting year, and I know COVID-19 has distracted a lot of us from the census, but we are now feeling the impact of the redistricting. Tell us what's going on in your district.
Yeah, well, here in Rhode Island, although it is a Democrat-controlled state, it's deeply corrupt and entrenched with who do you know system, in which this current gerrymandering that went on here in Rhode Island just a couple of months ago resulted in numerous progressives being redistricted, and in my case, by 2 streets, into a completely different city here in Rhode Island. And so the committee was made up of appointees that were picked by the Senate president, that was picked by the Speaker of the House, Joseph Cicarci. And, although I wish I could say this is the first time, 20 years ago, this happened again. And so what we're up against here, Ben, is deeply conservative General Assembly leadership and politics. And as you see on the screen here, progressives who are running for office like Cynthia Mendez statewide, and even candidates that are running against the Senate president himself, Lenny Sio.
I'm looking at this video of you speaking on the screen. You also had a Twitter thread that caught my attention. You said you've been hesitant to speak on this issue as you often try to see the best in people, and you're open to working with most anyone in the pursuit of equality and liberation. However, you feel like you cannot avoid sharing your thoughts on this matter any longer. You went on and said the redistricting process has been completely untransparent and controlled entirely by 2 officials that you listed there. After the preliminary maps came out, you rallied dozens of people to testify against the blatant gerrymandering that was being forced on your district. What recourse, if any, do the people have with this type of redistricting in this late hour?
Well, it's simple, Ben. The solution is elect a new multiracial slate of progressive candidates in the General Assembly to get a progressive majority. And that's kind of where I want to transition into the Rhode Island Political CoOp. They're a nonprofit organization that helps train and recruit new candidates to run for office who have no experience in the political realm, but want to run off a shared platform that makes a difference and makes a government work for working class people.
No, absolutely. Tell us more about that. Tell us more about the difference, because one of the things you said at the beginning of this conversation, you highlighted while the state is run by Democrats, it is still conservative leaning in some ways, and this power grabbing, power control is not being implemented by Republicans per se, even though we do see that happening around the country. I want you to really talk about the distinct differences between a progressive slate that is a challenge to power versus the power that holds power right now.
Absolutely. Well, I think when we look at Rhode Island specifically, it's a very small state. It's the smallest state in the country. And when we look at the elected officials that hold the seat, oftentimes those are passed down. I go to the Senate President, Dominic Ruggiero, who got his seat nearly 30 years ago from his own father. And so when we're talking about being able to uproot a foundation of corruption and that entrenchedness that I was speaking about, these people that are elected for decades have been in an office without challengers. Because no one would dare to challenge them. And so when we run off a platform that is progressive, that does call for significant changes to healthcare, criminal justice, policing, and we could get into the fight for the repeal of Leobor, which is restricting police accountability when officers conduct misconduct here in Rhode Island. These types of issues that are being talked about are foreign to them. And the dynamics of the Democratic Party and the platform that the National Party even runs on is not consistent with the Rhode Island politics that we see here today.
So there's an inherent clash that's going on. I also want to ask you about the CoOp because you are connected with Senator, and excuse me, the name, she's escaping me, but Cynthia Mendez. She did a homeless protest, was it last year? And we had a chance to interview her. Tell us about your connection with her and the overall spirit of, the overall spirit of the CoOp.
Absolutely. Well, I first want to say that the Sleep Out RI I participated in and was very personal to me. As someone who has been homeless multiple times due to lead poisoning and toxic mold, I know exactly what it's like to literally go to school and not know where you're going to sleep at night. And that's happened twice. And so when I was offered by Cynthia Mendez the idea to get faith leaders and get members of our unhoused community to sleep out and demand that people cannot freeze to death at night. My relationship with Cynthia was prior to that with BLM RI and us endorsing her to not only get elected, but do the great things that she's doing. And so the Sleep Out RI really put out a lot of pressure on this General Assembly. And it's sad, and it says a lot that people have to sleep outside the State House for over 2 weeks in order for them to provide something like 400 beds, and then not say that we had any impact on it. Wow. This is what we're up against.
Wow. Brother, tell us about your campaign. And I see your website, harrisontuttle.com. Tell us about your race and why you are the person for that position.
Well, although I haven't announced because of me being redistricted, I do plan on continuing to run and plan on announcing very soon. But what I'm running off of is a campaign that is for us, for working class people, for people that look like me of all different ages. I'm running off of a $19 minimum wage. For too long throughout the country and in this state, people have just been okay with struggling. The members of the General Assembly have just been okay with people in poverty. You cannot live off of a $15 minimum wage. And the reality is that in order for us to actually address the root causes of poverty, we can't be treating the symptoms. We have to look at what is directly impacting people. And so that's why I'm running off of a $19 minimum wage to make a livable wage. I'm running off being able to provide health care for all, which Senator Miller, who redistricted me, voted no for. And so I know that there are many questions around where I'm going to run, but I can assure you that I'm going to take my lived experiences and bring that towards the campaign and bring that to everyday Rhode Islanders who are not just supporting the wealthy, but are actually interested in improving everyone, not just a select few.
Not just a select few. Harrison Tuttle, Executive Director, Black Lives Matter Rhode Island PAC and the Black Lives Matter Northeast PAC, and also candidate for General Assembly. You can check him out at harrisontuttle, TUTTLE.com. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, brother.
Thank you so much, brother.